Hey, yeah, welcome back to the next video in the onboarding series. So this is video three. In the first video, I introduced myself. In the second video, I spent a long time demoing the Rootski UI, I guess, and just basically explaining some vision of the project and just giving a lot more context on what it is we're actually building here. So in this video, we're gonna pick up where we left off, and I am going to show you the architecture for Rootski. I think that's going to be really helpful in understanding what the roadmap in the near future of Rootski is. And it'll show you like all the sort of the sub projects we're working on inside of Rootski. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to use this video to help motivate which area of Rootski you want to work on. Yeah, and at the end of the last video, I kind of gave a spiel on like I really don't want you working on Rootski if you're not basically loving it and really loving our community. So you're not gonna love it if you're not working on something that you find meaningful. Yeah, and that's really cool. I mean, it's totally a win-win arrangement to be sharing Rootski with a community like this. So yeah, so hopefully this video will help you decide what to do. So this page that I'm on right here, this is basically the Broodski documentation. It's our knowledge base. So we're a closed source project. Yeah, we're a closed source project. So this whole concept that we're opening up Rootski for closed source development is a little weird and non-standard. Like normally, if you want a community to be helping you for build an app, particularly like for free, you open source your project. But how many open source projects do you know where where the result of the open source project is not a library or an app that you host yourself? Like, um, I don't, maybe you haven't thought about that before, so maybe that doesn't make sense. But um, like basically any website you go to that's being hosted, people are paying money to keep that website up. And open source projects, usually don't have a lot of money. They run on volunteer experience and so or volunteer labor, and so none of those, virtually none of those are open source, or if they are, they're basically getting sponsors by the community. So like PyPy that's the website where you download Python packages from, and same with NPM. Both of those are open source websites, and they're kind of an exception to the rule. The non-open source community like literally needs those services to be running, and so those services are constantly able to get donors. Yeah, so yeah, we're a closed source project, and so we are building an app that we're going to have actual customers. So I mean that totally sets us apart from like your typical open source project you could go and contribute to online. So yeah, and one of the biggest, I think, one of the biggest learning opportunities in contributing to Rootski is that like we're going to have real customers. I mean, we're going to be running real software in a real production way, and so that's something you can't really get with an open source project. So I think that's really awesome. But just a quick aside, I actually stole that idea. Well, I guess I didn't steal. I was inspired by something called the Python Discord channel. So I was listening to a podcast by, he's a Python podcaster, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but he interviewed the creator of the Python Discord channel. So Python Discord is an open source community, I guess. It's a community of people who want to learn Python, and it ranges from like super advanced Python programmers to like total beginners to programming. And check out their website. Doesn't it look awesome? This website was custom made by the Python Discord community. Um, oh yeah, here's some projects that they work on. So I was super mind blown by the way that this community operates. So Python Discord, they host real services on like a Kubernetes cluster. They're hosting this website. They have a Discord channel, obviously, and they have like chat bots and stuff. So all of the software running for the Python Discord project is written by the Python Discord community. And as they write that, they use that as a way to teach newcomers to Python, legit engineering skills. Yeah, like they encourage Python people to like, pick sort of a sub project of the Python Discord project to work on, and they get real mentorship, and they they don't let code enter the Python Discord like main branch or master branch unless it's like production quality. And so they do exactly what we're going to be doing on the Rootski project. They offer really, heartfelt, like I guess sincere, constructive criticism. Oh, this is so cool. Look at this animation. It's moving. I love that. Yeah. So they offer constructive criticism and commentary on pull requests by newcomers. And so in video one, I talked about how CI/CD is just awesome, like continuous, like automated deployments of new code. They require newcomers to the project to learn CI/CD so that they can get their, well, to learn just enough of CI/CD to where they're writing like production quality code, and they're giving lots of instruction and teaching as they do that at the same time. So that's really cool. When I heard that, I was like, that is genius. And I only heard that probably a month and a half ago, and that's about when the idea for running the RuneScape project in this way kind of started to form in my mind. So yeah, basically we're inspired by that. And we're not going to do this, but they have so much manpower in the Python Discord community that they often do rewrite, like entire rewrites of their system. Like they weren't always running on Kubernetes, but now they are because someone wanted to learn Kubernetes. They didn't have the opportunity to do that at work, and they wanted to work in a team. So Python Discord just made sense for them. So that is so cool. So yeah, that's how we run. And you might not like me when for the first little bit when you go to contribute to Runescape, because your first code that you ever contribute to the Ruski code base, it's going to be the hardest. It's going to be the most difficult piece of code that you ever contribute, and it might only be like 2 lines. And the reason why it's going to be a lot is because going from basically contributing your first commit, which you get merged into the master branch, includes a lot of onboarding. So you have to clone our repository, and you have to pick a project. You have to know what you're working on. You have to understand our code, which is a lot. And then you actually have to write some code. And then you might not know much about Git, but if you do, you'll, like make your own feature branch. Yeah, you'll write your code, you'll submit a pull request. And that's basically an opportunity where me and some others, we actually have one special volunteer who's volunteered specifically to review pull requests, which is so cool. So you're going to get these like professional engineers with really good, I guess, production quality coding experience behind them, looking at your code and reviewing it. And we're not going to let your code in unless it is up to par. Like we want Ruski to be a quality project because we want to expose this to real customers. And ultimately, if we end up having customers and Ruski goes down, I'm the one responsible for it because for the most part, I guess it'll be my business and it's my project as I guess sort of as the founder. And so like if I'm gonna have to be like on call and I guess no, who's gonna get frustrated if they can't download their flashcards at like 1 a.m. in the morning? But still, like it'll at the end of the day, it comes down to me to make sure that bugs get fixed. And so to prevent Rootski from just getting totally unsustainable and kind of just taking over my personal life, which I guess I said that I don't have one of those because I'm always coding. But for what little personal life I do have, I need the code of Rootski to be as high quality as possible. And that's really the same goal that a business is going to have. So when you contribute that first bit of code, a lot of learning is going to take place on how to write good quality code. And it may not be as big of a deal as I'm making it seem. Like it could be totally fine, but we're going to have you write unit tests for your code. You, if you know what code coverage is, we're not going to require 100% coverage. I don't know that that's a totally realistic expectation, but we're going to require some unit tests, and you're going to have to do something called linting, which is just going to make sure that your code is formatted the way that our project expects. So we're going to have a really pristine, uniformly formatted code base. And people complain about that process. Yeah, people will always complain about continuous integration, basically those code checks to make sure that your code is good quality before it enters the project. But that's something it's irreplaceable. I mean, like when you're in school, you have a TA helping you write good quality code. When you're not in school, it's sort of self-punishment that makes you write good quality code because any bad code you write just comes back to bite you over and over again as technical debt. So this is going to help you understand how a team avoids technical debt. And like I was telling you about how CI/CD is awesome. That's basically the process by which we're going to be doing these checks. I want everyone here to understand how our CI/CD works. In fact, I'm totally lying right now. We don't have these systems in place. I want you guys, the contributors, to help build our CI/CD pipelines so that you could start your own software team at the end of this. You could be a senior developer, start your own team, and you could set up CI/CD and you could make it so that your team follows good standards. So I actually think that's super dope. So, yeah, very, very exciting. So yeah, going through that for the first time though, especially as a new developer, especially if you're an inexperienced developer, it'll be a lot, but you'll have plenty of coaching to get you through it. And by the end of it, I mean, you'll actually come to love it. Yeah, I love it, but I didn't used to, but now I do because it gives me more time back in my life. So it's cool. Um, yeah. So, So, to get to that point, before we dive into the architecture of Rootski, let me just give you a quick tour of the knowledge base. So this is our knowledge base. I don't have, we're not paying for like Notion for Teams. And so right now I'm the only one who can edit the knowledge base. So, um, I don't know. In the future, I'd like to have something like, it's a good development practice where if you as a developer work on a project, you document that and help transfer that knowledge to the rest of the team. So eventually, I think we'll need some sort of better documentation situation. But for now, I'll just take that on and I'll maintain our knowledge base for us. So in the knowledge base, we have some your standard links that you need when you're onboarding for a team. And honestly, my first company did not have this list, and I struggled for like weeks getting like getting logged into AWS and getting Bitbucket access and like Google Drive. Like we used OneDrive at work, but still, and like, okay, it didn't have a LinkedIn company page, but there's that. And then this is cool. You can book time on my calendar. So if you ever want some one-on-one coaching or just want to do a phone call and catch up, like uh, this is like a Calendly link, so you can just get on there and book a call with me. And I usually do those calls on my drive home from work, so it doesn't really affect other things I've got going on in life. So yeah, I would love. I can't wait to have conversations with the team. It's going to be so cool to get to know everybody better. So um, let's see. And then, last but not least, Trello. Trello is kind of like Jira. If that doesn't mean anything to you, that's okay. It's basically a project management tool. So I'll give a whole demo on that after we go over the architecture because Trello is basically where we list out all the work that we have planned for Rootski. And by the way, if you don't like the work we have planned for Rootski and it really doesn't meet your interests, but you do want to contribute, we could probably find something for you that isn't on like directly on our roadmap. It's best for the team as a whole if we focus the work we're doing on things that help us get to releases and build good, you know, make things that the customer is going to want to see soon. But if there's something that you're interested in that Rootski could benefit from that isn't necessarily top priority and you just are not interested in any other stuff, talk to me and we can probably figure that out. So, um, yeah. So, oh, by the way, yeah, I recommend making a bookmarks thing. Like for like here's my Ben one, and then here's my Carrot one, which is a side job I have. So, yeah, for everywhere I onboard, I always make a bookmarks folder. It's so helpful. So, wait, do I have a Rootski one? I don't have this. Wow, what a hypocrite. Yeah, I need to make a book. That would be so helpful. I could have used that when I was making this video. Okay, yeah, everyone make a bookmarks folder for Rootski. Super helpful. Even I could use it. So, I've already explained the mission like 100 times over in this, but if you want to it's documented so people can see it. So we have these sort of sub pages of our knowledge base. If you can't tell, we're using Notion because Notion's pretty. So there's an onboarding section of the knowledge base. We already kind of talked about that. Please go through this before you start to ask a bunch of questions on our Slack channel because there's a lot of self-serve information here that's going to help you get up to speed on a lot of the things I'm going to demo in this video. So yeah, going back, let's see, onboarding, there's that. We're about to look at Rootski architecture. We have a whole thing on development practices. I'm going to build this out a little more, but it's knowing the commands of Git and actually knowing how to use Git on a team are two very different things. Like there's all sorts of opinions and debate out there about how you should use Git to work on a team. So um, we are going to use a style called trunk-based development. It's the new hotness in using Git as a team, and it's actually we use it at my current team at Ben, and it's amazing. It helps us deliver our products really fast, and it keeps the scope of what we're working on really small, and ultimately it makes everybody happier. So we're going to be using a style of working with Git called trunk-based development, and eventually I'm going to document that here. So if you want to be making pull requests, eventually you're going to have to come learn how to do that on this page, which is so cool. I mean, that's like really high value training. People pay tons of money to learn that. So that's exciting. We also have a style guide for Python. Both companies I've worked at so far have used this exact style guide. It was written by a team at Google. So yeah, this will be the style conventions we follow for Python. I have not been following one of these for the front end, which I'm really sorry, front end contributors. Like, I am not really a front end developer. You might think I am because Rootski is as far as it is, but um, like I'm not married to most of the Rootski architecture. And if you see a better way, I mean, we can you can help pioneer the style guide and our best practices for the front end because I'm the first to say that I am mostly a backend developer and sort of a DevOps guy, and it's just hard to do everything. So yeah. So yeah, you click this link to the style guide. You should go read it. Super useful. And then here's sort of just some special notes on things that weren't touched on, but I think are important. Um, Here's some stuff on continuous integration. So these tools are all the checks we're going to be using in our code. They're not implemented, so that's one of the work we'll see in Trello later. But hopefully, by the time somebody onboards someday and watches this video, if we haven't deprecated it, these things will all actually exist, which is cool. So yeah, and then later on we'll have a thing on our Git flow, which Git flow is actually a competitor to trunk-based development. So our flow of using Git, which is trunk-based development. So nice. Um, I could see a person watching this video and I could see most of what I just said not making any sense. And yeah, this is just like a general thing with Rudeski. And like we're accepting, contributors of literally any experience level. Like if you have time and resources to put into this project, like I want you to feel like you can benefit from it, like that you're not excluded from understanding how it works just because of your experience level. So like, oh my gosh, like I totally know what it's like to be in an environment where you don't feel like it's safe to ask like stupid questions, I guess, about like how things work. But here, we we're not going to have that atmosphere. I mean, like there's no stupid questions. I mean, there might be questions I don't have time to answer, but I'll always try to send you a resource so you can sort of self-serve that if it really comes to that. So um, yeah, so that's the development process. I have a thing called learning materials. A lot of the learning you're going to do for contributing to Rootski, like obviously we can't sit down. I can't teach you like all of Terraform or AWS CDK or CloudFormation or Docker or like, um, but everybody does learn those things themselves in software. I mean, school teaches you only so much, but it doesn't teach you specifics of tools, and so it's kind of just the way things are today that if you want to learn how a tool works in software, you have to take a course and learn it yourself, which is not a big deal. You'll do great at that. So if you want to contribute to a thing in Rootski and you don't know the tools to do it, I will help you build basically a personalized plan to learn that thing, and we'll make sure it's like really applied to the work we're doing here, which honestly is gonna it's gonna help you get so much more out of online courses that you're taking. Like I've at least found that for myself as I've been like applying it to something real like this. So anyway, so for my first data engineering team I was on, I was like super into self-learning. Like I was probably the only guy taking online courses like all the time. And so like we onboarded two people and it was so funny. Like I had only been working like a year or so, but I was totally a better developer than these people we had hired who had quote unquote like multiple years of experience in certain areas. And that's not to brag, it's just that it really surprised me. Like, they say jobs are so competitive to get, and yet sometimes people totally get through, and you're like, how are you here? Like, you barely know how to do some basic software stuff. So, um, yeah, that's probably the top most judgmental thing I've said so far. But I don't really mean it to be. I mean, like, basically, I wanted to help them sort of get up to speed faster. So I created this data engineering software skills study guide. And I mean, if that company hadn't been obliterated, they might still be using this today. So, um, yeah, so this is sort of a study guide. It's not a specific course to take to learn things because there are plenty of resources online to learn it. It's just a very consolidated list of the bare minimum you need to know to be like ultra productive at Rootski. So, for example, there's like the Linux terminal, like what is the command line? So if you follow these bullet points and you learn just like basically these things, you'll honestly know the 80%, like I guess the 20% of Linux that you need to know to get 80% of the value. forever. And you know, I recommend some other videos and resources. And for some of these things, like I recommend full-on courses you could take if you really want to dig deeper. Yeah, like here's one on Git. You only need to know like a couple of commands to really use it for us. Yeah, so I feel like this is for a lot of these resources, like this list is sort of a compilation of the best methods I know to learn these skills as quickly as possible. So I'll often be referring you to some of the resources that are in here to do that. So just so you know, we have like this learning resources section, and we'll constantly be building it out because it doesn't cover everything that Rootski uses. So let's see. So yeah, that was the software skills study guide. Go back. Learning materials. Okay, so really sorry about all that. I told you this video was going to be about architecture, and now it is, now that I've told you all these things. So that was sort of a tour of the knowledge base, and it's going to be growing and expanding over time. So, all right, Rudsky architecture. Let's do this. Actually, should we do this in a separate video? Yeah, let's do it in a separate video. Okay, see you in the next one.